From the mean streets of old Detroit, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two guys who'd buy that for $1, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
You know, given the doldrums that Detroit is in, they could use some RoboCop action. Corey, who gave us the little reference to RoboCop?
That was written by Grant Johnson, but will be rewritten in about 27 years.
By the way, I like the recent RoboCop. I know you didn't like it.
No. Because it's not really RoboCop. It's like, leave certain things alone. Some things are just precious. By the way, did you hear there's a new social networking site for Shriners? It's called Facebook. So anyway, it's a really obscure joke, isn't it?
It's not obscure. It's just
not even really a joke.
You're actually willing to derail the entire conversation. So it has nothing to do with you or me or movies or DVDs.
It's just I was driving over here and I thought, just the word Facebook is just a funny concept.
Well, I used to say that the site never would have taken off if it was called Bookface, and that didn't go anywhere either.
Yeah, it's funny. My mother-in-law, God bless her, she really tries very, very hard to be in with the hip crowd and the stuff and the kids and the computers and all this. She really tries hard, but she was never able to quite process that there's a thing called MySpace and a thing called Facebook. So she will call it My Face, and no one ever really knows what she's talking about. Could you put something out on My Face? Could you do a thing on My Face? And it never ends. You know what?
When the last person who thinks that passes away, it'll be a sad day. Yeah. Because we need people who realize that too much of that stuff is just horrible.
Mm-hmm. So you were recently just in a monstrously boring state.
I was with my beloved cousin, and I don't care where I am as long as I'm with my beloved cousin. I'm having a great time. But I was in Santa Fe for the second time. Nice. Actually. And, it's as boring as S. But we did go to Taos.
Yes.
We went on a Julia Roberts search, because Julia Roberts lives in Taos.
Does she really?
She does. I mean, I'm sure she has 7 homes.
I would say she probably owns property in Taos.
No, you know what? No, she lives in Taos. I mean, it's one of the homes that she spends a significant amount of time in. Taos. Okay. That's out there.
All right.
That's out there. Well known.
All right.
But Taos is nice. Taos is nice. Mm-hmm. Taos is good for a day. Santa Fe is good for a day. So really, if you flew in on a Saturday morning and leave a Sunday night, you've pretty much got it.
I don't know if they still do this, but our good friend Norman, who of course wrote Crazy for the Storm, right? Yeah, that's what it's still called, the movie, isn't it?
Well,
what's happening with that?
What's happening with that is the movie is currently on a very, very slow road to China. Yeah, it's right. Sean Penn is attached to star and direct along with Josh Brolin, and we are hoping and praying that it actually happens.
All right.
Through Warner Brothers. Now, it's what's interesting about that movie, as we derail the conversation even more, is that Warner Brothers is not really into $30 million movies like this.
I know.
So the fact that they want to make the film at all
is kind of a miracle.
Is a bit remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they see awards in it.
Well, anyway, backing up from that, Norman was the one who told, when we were in film school, was the one who told me about the Taos Film Festival, that if you win the Taos Film Festival, you get land. You don't get money, you don't get film stock, you don't get whatever, digital camera, you just get land. They just say, all right, here's a deed, that their plot of weeds now belongs to you. And they hope that people will build homes and develop and help the area grow. That's why they have
There's a lot of land there. And you know what, Taos is a big ski area. Uh-huh. And but it's beautiful all year long. I mean, there's about a day and a half worth of stuff to do there, and that's it. And it's pretty remote.
Isn't Area 51 around there too?
Los Alamos is around there. Yeah. We drove by Los Alamos. Yeah, a lot of that stuff. Roswell.
That's great.
Anyway, so I forgot what we're saying.
Well, anyway. World Cup's out of the way. I'm sure that makes you happy. Now I'm not going to be rambling about soccer
now the
anymore.
Mets are free to lose and take up all the oxygen. And
you were going to show me some Adult Swim thing.
Oh, yeah. It's not a podcast thing, which is more of an audio thing.
Go ahead and show it to me.
Okay,
because we can dovetail into another conversation.
So this is an actual show. Mm-hmm. I'm showing Wade this. This is a photograph. This is key art from a new Adult Swim show that I am showing Wade, which of course will mean nothing to anybody listening because they can't see it. But it is a new show on an Adult Swim called
Mike Tyson Mysteries.
Mike Tyson Mysteries, which is an animated show, which it's a total Scooby-Doo animated show ripoff.
Oh my gosh!
And it is Mike Tyson who drives around in a mystery van, with with his adopted Korean daughter.
Oh jeez.
The ghost of the Marquis of Queensberry.
Oh my gosh!
And a pigeon who was once a man. This is Mike Tyson Mysteries, half-hour animated comedy.
So I'm at the market the other day.
Okay, so you wanted me to tell this story just so you can get to the Mike Tyson thing.
Exactly. So I'm at the market the other day. The same market where I'm always seeing everybody, where I saw, Cuba Gooding Jr. and where I saw, Kate Beckinsale and on and on and on. It's like, Christmas Eve is usually the big day for celebrity sightings at this particular Gelson's. You can go to Christmas Eve. Everybody is there. It's just, I saw Danny Boone there. I was the only person that recognized him. I talked to him in French. And so I'm there the other day. And I'm driving around, and, I got the baby in the back seat, and Christy's in doing some shopping, and I'm driving around because I'm trying to keep the baby asleep, right? We got to keep her asleep, because we needed to get that afternoon nap time in, and we were in traffic forever. And so I'm just driving around the neighborhood, and I'm pulling the parking lot, and I'm like, geez, look at that big, buff black dude with the tattoo on his face. He looks a lot like Mike Tyson. Shiznit, that is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, just walking in the Gelson's parking lot. Gets into his big old burgundy-colored Cadillac, not Excursion, what are they called?
Escalade?
Escalade, thank you. Gets a big old Cadillac Escalade, burgundy color, Nevada plates, with windows tinted so black, I swear I thought light was going to be sucked into them. And I'm thinking, well, that's not inconspicuous, is it? Even the front windshield is tinted.
That's probably illegal.
Well, it's apparently not in Nevada.
That could be.
Yeah. So anyway, honestly, the side windows were so black.
How black were they?
It was like, it's not even tinted. It's like he went and got a house paint and just had somebody paint the windows over. That you could not see anything. I mean, here it would be completely illegal.
Because he doesn't want the next woman to see that he's about to rape her.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the podcast. We are now canceled.
Well, whatever gets us talking about Blu-rays at this point.
Okay.
Okay, we are not going to have a 2-hour show just so you can spin tales about celebrities you've run into.
That is correct.
Thank you.
That is absolutely correct. We should, we have an enormous amount of classic movies. We, of course, had that little week off because I had my kidney stone episode, and then there's the World Cup, and everything got out of whack. But we have an enormous amount of classic films.
Go, run, say things.
So why don't we do new movies first? Let's jump into some new movies. Blue Ruin, out on Blu-ray. From Anchor Bay via Radius, the kind of low budget but not Dimension wing of Weinstein. It is a really interesting film. This was kind of a passion project between the director and the actor. The director is Jeremy Saulnier, and the actor is Macon Blair. They've known each other since they were kids. And they've both been just fighting to try and get a career going, and finally, they had families and the whole deal, and they finally just said they threw caution to the wind and they made this movie, and it has suddenly hit, and it's gotten them off on all new careers, and it totally deserves to. They basically come from the horror world, and the only stuff that's weak about this film is the horror stuff. When it gets gory, it's a little too gory, it's a little too indulgent. Apart from that, it's a really fascinating film. It's about a guy, when the film starts, he's homeless, he's living in his car, he's got a beard. Who is this guy? And he essentially murders the man in just a moment of kind of obsessive passion. He murders the man that he believes killed his parents. It's a revenge film that starts with the act of revenge. It doesn't build up to it. It builds away from it. And where it goes from there is absolutely totally fascinating. Even though they tout that Eve Plum is in this, Eve Plum of Brady Bunch fame, she shows up so briefly near the end that if you blink, you'll miss her, and even if you don't blink, you probably won't recognize her. So don't let Eve Plum's involvement in this in any way attract you. You're seeing this because Saulnier is a hell of a director, and because Macon Blair is a really good actor. And I don't normally go nuts for low-budget films like this. I was a little lukewarm on this thing in many respects when I talked about it on the radio, but it has improved in my mind over time. And watching it again on Blu-ray, I thought, you know what? That's a sharp little movie. I applaud them for everything they did. So that's Blue Ruin. And then also, Heaven is for Real is a movie that stars a very, very dear friend of Mark's. And that's why he has no objectivity on this, because anything that he's involved in, you can't review properly because you break into tears.
You know, I haven't seen Greg in like 5 years.
I know. But you guys are tight. You're like spiritually tight. You communicate psychically. So Greg Kinnear is in this movie, which is based on a best-selling book that is based presumably on a true story, although I don't know the details of the story, and I'm always skeptical about, the based on true story thing. But apparently, little boy, he dies, has a near-death experience, and, spiritual uplift ensues. And you know what? It's a solid little movie. Randall Wallace co-wrote and directed this. Randall Wallace, who I'm very iffy on. I like Braveheart in spite of him. I don't like much of anything else that Randall Wallace has had anything to do with. Like We Were Soldiers, I just think is
Secretariat or whatever the horse movie.
Yeah, I'm not into any of his stuff. He's just too obvious.
He likes you though.
I've heard that, but anyway, this is not bad. This is actually quite solid. It's like he takes a step back. The emotions are real. It's not preachy. It's not very, very evangelically, as it were. It doesn't sort of carry that faith-based stigma where you feel like this is made strictly for people who are praising Jesus every Sunday. It really has a very, very mainstream appeal to it, and I think they did a great job. It made a good chunk of money. It was made for the right amount, and it's rock solid. And this comes with some featurettes and also the old Ultraviolet dig. So it's good. Heaven is for Real. Surprisingly warm and fuzzy.
Yes, Wade?
Wade,
I like how you talk about the good films and I talk about Sabotage.
Oh, well, that's how it goes.
Now, Sabotage was directed by...
I got some stinkers here that I'm going to be covering in a moment, so you carry on. I got some stinkers in a moment, so you carry on.
It's important. We have to spread the wealth.
Yes, we do.
Written and directed by David Ayer, who also gave us Training Day and End of Watch. David Ayer, of course, wrote Training Day.
Who has the tank movie coming up, by the way, Fury.
And you're looking forward to that.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay, which movie are you looking forward to more based on the trailer? The tank movie or the Angelina Jolie war thing?
Oh, geez, man, probably the Angelina Jolie film. That looks wicked awesome.
Oh, gee, what are you from Boston now? Looks wicked awesome. Anyway, this has a good cast in a silly, cynical, ugly, scatological, gruesome movie. It's got Schwarzenegger, Sam Worthington, who.
Oh, is he back?
Sam Worthington starred in the highest-grossing film of all time, and yet nobody likes him. Nobody wants to hire him. He is a charisma black hole.
He really is. He was momentarily going to be Mad Max,
I know.
For a moment, until apparently George Miller actually saw him in some of his other movies, was like, okay, we're not going to do that.
And he starred in a Terminator film.
Yeah. For a moment, he was the guy, and Clash of Titans and the whole thing. He was the dude for a moment. Everybody thought he was the second coming of the mega action star, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's Mel Gibson and all the rest of them revisited, and no.
And then they realized he's terrible.
He's not good.
No. Charisma free. Didn't like him.
Yeah.
Terrence Howard, Joe Manganiello,
yeah,
are in this thing, and I just don't like this thing at all. It's just very brutal and violent, and it's just you just want to take a shower when this thing is done. It's one of those movies where somebody steals $10 million in cash, and they all get picked off.
That's fantastic.
And Schwarzenegger, look, he's not governor anymore, and he's back in acting, and I guess that's fine, but. I just think that his post-governor career is just going to become a bunch of crappy movies like Sabotage. What's he going to do?
I don't know.
Terminator. I mean, that's all he can do. That's the only thing he can do to give him any legitimacy is another Terminator film. And, of course, he is. But stuff like Sabotage and the Last Stand, it's all just B-movie crap, and so is Sabotage.
Yeah.
Now, we have a very disappointing first directorial feature from Wally Pfister, who is...
I don't know why anybody actually thought this would work. But carry on. I have
Nolan's cinematographer.
Yeah.
This is Transcendence with Johnny Depp. This thing was a great disappointment. This thing just felt like it was the Lawnmower Man.
Mm-hmm.
All over again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The problem when you get... Look, Wally Fish is very talented, but I'm saying is that why would he pick a movie like this to be the... He must have been so entranced by the possibility of the visuals that he didn't even really care about what the story was.
Everyone is invested in everyone else. The producers were like, "Oh my gosh, we've got Wally Pfister and Johnny Depp. We can't lose. And Wally Pfister's thinking, oh my gosh, I'm signing on to a Johnny Depp film. We can't lose. And Johnny Depp is thinking, oh wow, Wally Pfister, and this sounds like another cool freaky part for me to play. We can't lose. And nobody actually stopped to think, wait a minute, cinematographers typically make horrible directors. Editors make really good directors, but cinematographers do not make good directors. Most cinematographers that become directors do a really poor job of it. I mean...
Well, Barry Sonnenfeld did okay.
Barry Sonnenfeld did okay, and obviously...
Mel Steve, Jimmy Jack.
Walkabout.
Nicholas Roeg.
Nicholas Roeg, thank you. Nicholas Roeg did a really good job of it, but generally speaking, you can count up on your... I mean, look, Cameron Deschanel, amazing cinematographer. As a director, not so much.
Although Haskell Wexler did do medium cool. Yeah, you love medium cool.
No, I don't.
You don't love medium cool.
No, I don't. Okay. So, and Johnny Depp just laid 2 eggs in a row. I mean,
he's got a problem, this guy. He's a terrible judge
of movies. And again, did no one see The Lawnmower Man? That's exactly what it is.
I know.
Come on.
It's terrible. Anyway, no, it is. It's very disappointing. It's just this one of those, control. You have to control, machines, or they'll control you.
Yeah. Well,
wow. Whatever. We haven't seen this 65,000 times. It's just this high concept mega movie that is just completely ridiculous. Looks great on Blu-ray. Give him that. It's got a bunch of special... Yes, wait.
So, carry on.
Are you about to tell me to stop talking about a Johnny Depp film so you can talk about All Cheerleaders Die?
Yep, that's absolutely where I was going to go.
Don't let me stop you.
Okay. So, All Cheerleaders Die on Blu-ray is ridiculous. Now, this is one of those films that calls itself a horror comedy. I kind of figure I would probably need to see this in a crowded audience, with an audience just packed with people who will actually find this funny, because I didn't. I can see this being kind of a cult classic in some respect. Murderous cheerleaders, certainly nothing new. It kind of goes for Heather's vibe a little bit, but then there's and it just kind of goes into zombie ghost territory, and it gets very, very silly. But if genre films and genre splicing twists and movies that kind of just try to take old genres and turn them upside down and inside out, if that's your thing, go for it. For those who care, this is a Lucky McKee movie. Now, I have a certain degree of affection for Lucky McKee. He did this with this Chris Siverston guy, who I really don't know anything about. And this is based on another film that I've never heard of. So, obviously, I'm a little bit out of the loop, but, Lucky McKee... he's got some chops visually, but here I think that's kind of a disappointment. And then we've got Derek Huff and Bo-Ah in Make Your Move. That's Bo-Ah, right? Not B of A, right?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure I'm not confusing, these names. Anyway, Derek Huff, amazingly, given how leaden and wooden and unremarkable his sister is as an actress, I was expecting him to be equally bad.
And yet...
he's worse.
Wow.
I know.
Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thought?
Who just said that?
Honestly, the Huffs, I think they are fantastic dancers, but please, keep them out of movies. Just please do. And it's a dance thing. Make your move. Right? It's, it's another one of these things that just tries to give... people who love dancing, it's this goes all the way back to Breakin' and Electric Boogaloo and Breakin' 2 and all that stuff. It's what are all the Step Up, the whole Step Up thing.
There's a new Step Up.
I know there is. Anyway, this was written by one of the writers of Step Up as well. Anyway, there's no story here. There's just dancing, and it's the usual thing. I don't know. Bo-Ah, who's this Korean pop star, I guess she's cute, and I guess she fits the bill, and this thing will sell well overseas, but whatever. Not my kind of movie. Let's see, Dom Hemingway. Mark, do you have any opinion about Dom Hemingway?
Should I?
Well, did you see it in the theaters?
I did not.
Oh, you did not? Okay, I thought you did. Didn't you tell me? Okay, never mind.
I told you nothing. I told you nothing.
Jude Law, Dom Hemingway. Jude Law has had just the most unusual career, and I'm still not quite sure what to make of it. He's trying to go into a character direction here. He's trying to get away from the guy that he usually plays, which is that slick, sophisticated, kind of somewhat fey, a little bit sarcastic British dude. And he's been doing that for a while. The one time he veered away from that was with that part that he did in Eastwood's Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which was horrendous. That like bow-legged
I don't even remember that movie.
Oh my gosh, what a dreadful movie that was. And he was so bad in it. Anyway, so he's trying to do a little character thing again here, and he's this safe cracker with these lamb chop sideburns and receding hairline, and he's just spent a long time in prison, and he comes out and he wants to, well, anyway, there's a whole bit with his he's got this daughter that doesn't want to talk to him, and he's trying to get his life back together again, and of course they pull him back in, and things transpire, yada yada, etc. and so forth. As a story, I don't find it all that terribly compelling. I find his performance interesting. I'm still not sure if I like it or not. It doesn't bore you. So, I mean, if you're a Jude Law fan, you'll probably enjoy it a little bit more, but he does kind of chew the scenery a lot, and I'm still undecided as to whether or not I actually like the performance. I think at a certain point I may come around and like it in the same way that I like Al Pacino in Scarface, but I'm still not sure. So anyway, bunch of featurettes here. It's on Blu-ray, and you also get an ultraviolet copy.
You do?
You do.
Do you get an ultraviolet copy of Tyler Perry's The Single Moms Club?
I would shoot myself first.
Yeah, this thing's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Perry, you've got to respect him as a businessman so much more than you like him as a filmmaker, because he's just terrible.
I know.
He really is. But the guy's got a niche, and he exploits it, and he's incredibly wealthy, and God love him for it.
Yep.
But Single Moms Club, to me, is one of his worst. It is just so melodramatic. It's just ridiculously melodramatic. It's just all about stereotypes and cliches about being single, and it's all about like girl power, camaraderie, and it's just terrible. This one stars Nia Long, Amy Smart, Coco Brown, Terry Crews. Terry Crews is hilarious. That guy's funny.
I don't even know who he is.
Terry Crews? Oh, sure you do.
Do I? Crews is Crews.
Correct.
Yeah. Now I know. Okay.
No, he's funny.
I was thinking like Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
but Terry Crews. Yeah.
Tom Cruise, not so funny.
Okay.
Anyway, very melodramatic, and there's not really many recognizable characters in the movie, more than they are just sort of archetypes.
Sure.
Although Nia Long, I don't know how old Nia Long is, but I have to say, delicious.
She's long.
And she's Nia.
Yeah. Anyway,
this is a piece of crap.
Okay.
The Face of Love is an interesting film, because The Face of Love stars two people who don't really do enough movies. It's a great cast. It's a totally great cast. It's Annette Bening, Ed Harris, and Robin Williams.
I heard this was really sweet.
It's very sweet. It's thoughtfully directed. The stars are great. They hold the whole thing together. Good performances. Bening plays she plays his widow, and she meets this guy who totally looks just like her late husband. It sounds like it could be a little crazy, but it's a good little movie. It's kind of like Tyler Perry. It's a little bit melodramatic, but still, there's a lot of touching stuff in here.
So Robin Williams is good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, because I'm going to rip on him in a moment.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm just saying, it's a good thing that we actually have something that he's good in this week, because the other one is not.
Anyway, this movie went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. IFC has it. But if you want to check out three good performers having a grand old time in their late middle age, God knows we're glad there's a script. There's a script out there that they can that's actually for them, and not for like Chris Evans. So if you want to see three old pros, Annette Bening, Ed Harris, and Robin Williams do their thing, The Face of Love, you do a lot worse.
Sweet. All right, we got a movie, Wet Behind the Ears, which is this. It's a fun, quirky little independent film that I did not expect to particularly like. Written and directed by Sloane Copeland, who's got quite a career going there. There've been a number of these little independent films lately about people who have to move back home, and they're having midlife crises, and they're living with their parents again. How do I get my life on track? And most of them are absolutely horrendous. And this one actually works, and it works because it takes some very, very interesting twists. It's about this girl. She, wants to get her career and her life going, but she's just out of school. She can't do it. So she winds up working in an ice cream store. And anyway, then there's a whole kind of a strange. There's some very, very strange twists that happen here, and it becomes kind of a caper film, but not quite. It's sort of like this weird postgraduate coming of age caper comedy. That's probably the best way to put it. Anyway, it's a sharp little film, and it's very nicely put together, and it's quirky, and it's original, and it's made the rounds of the festivals, did not make it out into theaters, so it's worth finding if you have a chance. Wet Behind the Ears. Definitely check it out. No names in it, really, but it's a sharp little movie. And then we also have The Angriest Man in Brooklyn, which is out on Blu-ray and Ultraviolet, and man, this is just, I really don't know what went wrong with this. This is an agonizing film to watch, and it's especially agonizing when you realize this was directed by Phil Alden Robinson, and you go, "Oh my god!"
When was the last time he directed a movie? Sneakers or something?
He did one thing since Sneakers. He did one of the
Star Wars?
No. One of the wasn't it the Ben Affleck deal?
Oh,
Clear and Present Danger.
Right? Yeah, one of those.
It was one of those. Yeah, so anyway, it's like Phil Alden Robinson, right? Field of Dreams, Sneakers, and one of those Clancy movies, and then he just vanishes again. I mean, he goes to these long stretches. He goes into, I don't know, he's doing on vacation or in depression, who knows, in detox, but anyway, he goes away for years and years and years. And you're thinking, when are you going to come out with something like Field of Dreams again? Like, when are you going to do one of those, something cool and hip? And he comes out with The Angriest Man in Brooklyn, and I'm like, well, are you kidding me? What the hell? Here's the deal. Robin Williams is literally the angriest man in Brooklyn, because in the first scene of the movie, you see him when he's got his family, and he's so happy. He's so happy. He's blissfully happy. Cut to, he's in traffic, and he's now like the angriest man in Brooklyn. Robin Williams overacting to as he is apt to do when a director cannot rein him in. And it's like, dude, what is your problem? Like, back up. And he winds up he sees a doctor who is played by Mila Kunis. How's that for casting against type? And she's having a bad day, so she tells him he's only got like a day to live, and he takes it seriously, and he flips out, and he has to go and try to put his life together, and she has to run around to try to convince him that he's not going to die. It's terrible. It really doesn't work. Melissa Leo shows up for no apparent good reason. Peter Dinklage plays Robin Williams' brother. I don't know why that makes sense. Anyway, nothing in this movie works. It's just so unfortunate, and it's just so misbegotten. It's just a pity. And Robin Williams is terrible. He's just terrible. And I don't know why Phil Alden Robinson, after all these years away, would say to himself, boy, there's a movie I think I'd really like to try to make my comeback with.
Wade, let me tell you something. Speaking of comeback.
Yeah.
Well, not really, but Jonathan Glazer has only directed a couple films, but they're both very promising. One, it was Sexy Beast, which is hilarious.
Oh, Sexy Beast is so good.
And then Birth, which had a bit of a troubled birth over at New Line, but I still liked it. His latest is Under the Skin. This was the very abstract Scarlett Johansson starring film, which is very much kind of the woman who fell to earth, in a sense. This is based on a novel that I'm under the impression gave you a lot more in terms of who this main character is, but Scarlett Johansson plays an alien who comes to Earth and tries to seduce guys into her van.
I see.
Now, what she's going to do with them in the van is not what you think. She's going to eat them, I would presume, but not in the way men like to be eaten by Scarlett Johansson. This is the type of film where you've got to be really into Glazer's images because they're always very striking and very original, and he does it here again. It really depends on your tolerance for abstract filmmaking.
All right.
I liked it because I am a bit of a Glazer apologist, and I want to see him make movies. But I can see where people would kind of be like, yeah, this is a little too like, oh, look at me being unconventional and all existential. So it's just very slow-moving, but again, this might not be a satisfying experience for you other than to say, oh, look, I saw Scarlett Johansson kind of naked.
Awesome.
Under the Skin.
Nice. Very good. Well, The Pretty One, I am a big fan of Zoe Kazan, by the way. Not just because I love her family and I think her parents and her granddad are all just wicked awesome, but I just really, really like her. I think she's enormously talented as an actress and a writer. And The Pretty One is a sharp little movie because she basically plays twins in it. She's essentially a woman who assumes the identity of her identical twin after people kind of make that mistake themselves, and it becomes a journey of discovery, one of those proverbial journeys of discovery for her. But what a sharp little movie. Ron Livingston, probably the best thing that he's done since Office Space. I wish this was out on Blu-ray. It's not, unfortunately. It's only on DVD. Should be on Blu-ray because it's also really, really well shot. And I hope this movie kind of finds an audience because it didn't find one when it was in theatrical release. Anyway, Genet Lamarck is the writer-director. And this movie really should go find it. It's fun. You'll appreciate it. The Pretty One with Zoe Kazan, Jake Johnston, and Ron Livingston. And we're slowly moving down to the big one this week, Mark. The big one, the big new film. But I want to make mention of Sex Tape. Oh, no, not the one that's bombing in theaters. No.
There's a different one? There's a different one.
Yeah.
There's a different one?
There's this one.
But that's SX Tape.
That's right. SX_tape.
Yeah.
Still pronounce it the same way. Sex Tape. Boy, I got to tell you, I don't know what it is with Bernard Rose. I just cannot figure him out. Bernard Rose has had the most fascinating career trajectory, and I wish he'd kind of just figure out where he wants to go. He started with Candyman, which I thought was crap, and I'm like, you're another one of these horror hacks. And then he does Immortal Beloved, and you're like, oh my gosh, you've got like a soul. You want to make real movies, like period films and biopics. And even though Immortal Beloved is a little flawed, it's basically Citizen Kane with Beethoven swapped in for Kane. It's Citizen Beethoven, but it showed something. And then he did Anna Karenina, and it was flawed as well, with Sophie Marceau, but he's aiming for something, and since then he's kind of been fumbling around, trying to find himself again, and this is back to kind of the horror thing, and I don't know, it's the way they're pushing this is from the executive producer of Paranormal Activity, the producer of Insidious, and the director of Candyman, as though any of that really has anything to do with this movie. I don't know. It just the whole angle here is it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Anyway, it's
so. Did you like it, Wade?
No, it's just it's kind of a, I don't know. It wants to sort of be one of those Paranormal Activity rec type horror films that gets inside the whole first person video thing. There's a little bit of that in The Ring, and there's a little bit, all of these movies sort of are trying to find the horror in our new voyeuristic environment. The horror of being able to see things and record things and witness things and have it sort of live in perpetuity, but none of them really work very well, and this one is just convoluted, and it's really unfortunate, and I wish he'd go back to making period films.
Wait, speaking of period films...
Yes.
Cesar Chavez. Now, there's never been a definitive movie by Cesar Chavez, and unfortunately, this one doesn't work because it wants to be the definitive movie by Cesar Chavez. And just stop that, and just make a movie. Michael Pena, who's had a terrific career as a supporting actor, including he was at his best in the Oliver Stone 9/11 film.
Sure.
World Trade Center.
Yeah.
He's terrific in that.
Terrific.
Here he plays Cesar Chavez, of course. He's the...
it's good casting, I'll say that.
Yeah. But, here's the thing, though. He's Pena, I like him. He's got this sort of cherubic face, and I don't see a lot of, real just get down and dirty passion in that guy. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the problem with Cesar Chavez. It's very unobjectionable, and it's very nicely made, and the performances are very nice. But in the end, I feel like I'd rather just go just Wikipedia Cesar Chavez and watch this movie. So I would pass on Cesar Chavez, an inspiring man, an amazing life. Not a great film.
Ah, well.
Speaking of which, we have Rio 2. Now, Rio 2 is...
there was a Rio 2?
There's a Rio 2.
When did that come out?
Because... look,
was I changing diapers? What the hell?
See, what I think they should do is they should just name every movie that comes out 2.
Sure.
Because right now, studios would rather just greenlight a sequel to a movie that didn't do very well than greenlight an original film.
Sure.
So why not just make every movie, just put a 2 at the end?
Okay.
Make people think that, it must be the sequel to something. Well, if it's a sequel, that means the original must be good. I'll have to see the sequel. Because really, it's all just a big crapshoot of just sequels now. So Rio 2 is more craziness with the stupid birds from... This thing is terrible. It's just such animated product. That's the problem. The voice cast is completely fine. Anne Hathaway, Jesse Eisenberg, Kristen Chenoweth, Bruno Mars, who I don't understand, and I guess I'm just old or something because I don't get the whole Bruno Mars thing. He's in it too. So there you go. It's Rio 2, bunch of birds. They go squawk, squawk, and they sing songs.
Okay. So Road to Paloma. This thing came out in theaters literally about a week ago, and it's now on Blu-ray, which tells you a lot. This is an Anchor Bay release, originally produced through Starz and WWE Studios. Now, all the stuff that WWE releases and produces, it has some kind of a big macho, dude, hardcore, testosterone-fueled concept to it. This is directed by and stars Jason Momoa. Now, Jason Momoa, I guess, is, as I understand now, isn't this the thing that he is rumored to be playing Aquaman in Batman vs. Superman?
Yes.
Now, when they said Batman vs. Superman, okay, I get it. It's going to have Batman and Superman. Oh, and this Israeli actress is going to play Wonder Woman, and I'm like, all right, sure, why not throw Wonder Woman in there? Sure, I guess you're trying to, do the opposite of the Avengers thing. Rather than have the individual movies at first, you're going to lump them all into this one and then go into the individual movies. Interesting. It's the reverse of the Marvel strategy. Okay, I can dig that. And then we're like, and Jason Momoa is going to be Aquaman. I'm like, okay, now it's getting ridiculous. How many superheroes are you going to pack into Superman versus Batman?
Supposedly Wonder Woman's part is very, very small.
Yeah, well, I'm sure his is as well. But is John Johns, the Man from Mars, going to show up in this too? Is a new Green Lantern going to pop in?
I hope so.
Is Spectre going to show up? And who's going to be Hawkman? Is Hawkman? Is some guy going to sprout wings and start flying around? I mean,
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure. So anyway, is Kazoo going to show up in this? Wouldn't that be sweet? Wouldn't that be great if Kazoo showed up in the Justice League? And people go, wait a minute, Kazoo is part of the Flintstones, not the Justice League.
George Jetson shows up.
How does that happen? Anyway, Road to Paloma. So Momoa, who's got a big career going, right? Game of Thrones, Conan the Barbarian, and now he's going to be Aquaman, apparently. Anyway, so he basically plays this Native American dude who avenges his mom's murder and goes on kind of an Easy Rider type road trip on the bike, and all kinds of crap transpires that doesn't really hang together, but it's got that grit and that feel, and he's charismatic. I don't deny it. I don't know if he's going to make a great Aquaman, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
There was a whole lot of talk about that awkward moment because it stars all sorts of exciting new young talent, including Zac Efron, who's in various stages of undress in this movie. And Miles Teller, who is like this it kid who I just don't get and I don't understand and I don't know what he's been in and I don't even think he's that great. But Miles Teller is like the new.
I know
kid.
He's the new guy. Yeah, I know.
Now Michael B. Jordan, I like him.
Sure.
He's going to star in the Fantastic Four movie, so he's already selling out. Didn't take him that long.
Yeah.
But I do like him. He's cool. And Imogen Poots is also in this. This is one of those movies where the guys are they're all like these hip 20-something guys and they want to be single forever and bros before hoes, and then this beautiful girl enters their life, and they just can't be single anymore. Not when the girl that hot shows up, and this thing is just terrible. It's just it's very obsessed with the male penis part. I don't know why that is.
I don't either.
You know what it is? It tries to be like kind of raucous, like a Hangover movie, and then it tries to be kind of like deep and telling about relationships today, and it's really not smart enough for that. And, so it tries to be a romantic comedy, but it tries to be a little more serious. And I just think that this thing doesn't really, it winds up straddling the line, and it becomes sort of neither. So, and it's also not funny. So ultimately, I'll put up with any of it if I'm laughing, and in the end, it's just not funny. So I would pass on that awkward moment, unless you really want to see Zac Efron with no clothes on.
Yeah, not really.
And I do. I enjoy that part of it.
So here's the thing. This was a big deal. Noah. We're going to talk about Noah now. We're going to wrap out our new film coverage of the week with Noah. Here's the thing about Noah. Previously, the only big screen Noah of note was John Huston in The Bible, which of course was a John Huston directed film. Remember, John Huston played Noah in that film. He's the typical Noah, old guy with the white beard, 2x2. And then it rains, and there's an ark, and there's a whole thing.
He runs around muttering 2x2.
Whatever. So that's typically the Noah that most people know, and that's not the Noah that Darren Aronofsky wanted to portray. Darren Aronofsky, of course, is a secular Jew, but has a very religious Jewish background, as anyone would know if they saw Pi, his first film, which is a very, very kind of bizarre religious subtext to it, where there are these, this like underground of Kabbalah scholars who are trying to figure out the name of God, and it's a whole weird thing in Pi. Anyway, so I expected a somewhat intellectual and avant-garde approach to the Bible story in the movie, and what I got was a very, very weird fusion of it's like present-day eco-speak and global warming cautionary tale combined with something that looks vaguely biblical and a guy named Noah who doesn't really resemble anybody in the Bible named Noah, and an ark that I guess is theoretically, carrying two of every animal. But it for the most part, it felt like kind of a part action film, part art film, not very biblical, quasi-religious, somewhat new agey eco mush.
You know what I liked about it is that although it is a little action. It's a little too action filmy during the flood part, and it's a little too melodramatic at the end. But I like the fact that and again, this doesn't make it a good film, but it was interesting to watch. You feel like Aronofsky is trying to wrestle this story to the ground.
He is. I just don't know. I mean, look, the story of Noah in the Bible takes...
It's like 10 pages or something, whatever it is.
It's not. You could read it in 4 minutes. You literally read it out loud in about 4 minutes. It's maybe 3 pages. It's not much.
Well, that's why it's not fair to criticize it for being inaccurate to the biblical version.
That was the other thing too, is that he fought with the studio, Paramount, over the cut because they wanted something that would cater more to faith-based audiences, and he wanted something that was more his sort of very revisionist vision. And then in the end, they had to sort of bend over backwards and put these disclaimers on it. This is inspired by the biblical account. Don't get, it's not exactly. I mean, it just...
First of all, you've hired Darren Aronofsky to direct this film. What do you expect? And second of all, you know what? It's funny. It actually insults faith-based people, but I think a lot of them deserve to be insulted. It's like, can they really not process the idea that this story may not be exactly as they envision it?
If they want something that's biblically accurate and completely faithful to the biblical story, it's basically going to be a commercial. It's going to be like 4 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. It's going to be a short film. It's 4 minutes. I mean, anyway. So anyway, it's not unsuccessful. It's not successful. It's just kind of a weird hybrid. And I don't really know quite who he made it for, but, it's certainly worth talking about. I guess it's worth seeing. And you get Ultraviolet on it, too. So that's a bonus.
And also, if you're a member of the press, you get this.
Oh, yes. They sent it to us in this pine box, which I assume is supposed to look like an ark.
It looks like a coffin.
It actually looks like a coffin. It looks like a coffin from the Wild West. And I think that might be some kind of a Freudian slip or something. Anyway. So, all right.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
We don't have a million years left in the show, Wade. So instead of spending 5 minutes talking about a movie no one cares about, how about some Criterion, some classic films? Let's do it. Okay,
I'm going to blow through these. We got a couple of amazing Criterions here. Let me just do a little bit quickie on the foreign end of things. The original Insomnia by Erik Skjoldbjerg is now out from 1997 on a Blu-ray Criterion. It is way better, I have to say. It is way better than the Christopher Nolan remake.
Which I liked a lot.
Which is fine.
Really? It's one of Al Pacino's last actual performances.
Yeah, but if you compare him to Stellan Skarsgård is so much better. He's so much better in this. It is really a better film. It is a much better film. I mean, Nolan's film relies on this very heavily, and it's in Alaska as opposed to the northernmost part of Norway. But whatever. Anyway. Very sharp film, taken from a new 4K restoration, and it's got a conversation between Skarsgård and Skjoldbjerg, as well as a couple of short films that Skjoldbjerg did in the early 90s, and it's pretty great. So definitely check that out. That's a dual format, by the way, Blu-ray and DVD, probably one of the last that we're going to be getting out of Criterion before they go back to just doing Blu-rays and DVDs separately. And then I cannot rave enough about the essential Jacques Demy. This is going to cost you a pretty penny to pick up, so get it on sale if you possibly can. Jacques Demy, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. This is a dual format edition, 6 Blu-rays and 7 DVDs of some of the most wonderful movies you will ever see. It is worth getting alone just for the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Umbrellas of Cherbourg, I consider one of the 5 best directed movies in history. In history. Incredible film, magnificent, amazing music, fantastic songs, and its semi-sequel, The Young Girls of Rochefort, sometimes known as The Young Women of Rochefort, which, did I ever tell you that when I sat down with Gilbert de Goldschmidt, the producer of The Young Girls of Rochefort, and I was trying to in Paris in his offices.
Oh, you tell me that you tell me that every Christmas.
No, because long story. I heavily hit up a whole bunch of old classic French producers for a trip to Paris. I guess it was on my way to Cannes in '93, maybe. 93. I think it was '93, and it might have been '92. Anyway, 20 some odd years ago. And like an idiot, I'm like, I'm going to convince them to sit down and meet with me, and I'm going to pitch them projects and things. Anyway, so the only guy there were two who got back to me. But Gilbert de Goldschmidt, the producer of Umbrellas of Cherbourg and Young Women of Rochefort, was one of them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in. Went to his office, and we sat down in a nice little meeting room, and he was really sweet. I mean, clearly realized that I was just a dumb American, but he figured, why not? I'll humor this kid. And it was great, and told me some wonderful stories. They shot the film in 2 languages. Did you know that? They shot it in English and in French.
What?
And cut it in both languages.
What?
Yes, indeed.
Fla.
Mm-hmm.
Glove.
Lots of interesting stuff there, which I will not get into because the extras here cover a lot of that stuff, and there are gobs and gobs and gobs of them. The other movies here, Donkey Skin, Une Chambre en Ville from 1982, and Lola and Bay of Angels. And Lola and Bay of Angels are both unbelievably fantastic as well. Une Chambre en Ville is less extraordinary. Donkey Skin is pretty great. So anyway, this is just fantastic stuff. This is just absolutely fantastic stuff. So if you are a Jacques Demy fan, do yourself a favor and indulge. This is just absolutely beautiful. Everything about this is wonderful. Wonderful set. And then real quickly, we also have the new Kore Eda Hirokazu film that was a jury prize winner at Cannes, Like Father, Like Son, which is a lovely, lovely movie. That is out from MPI. You really, really want to check this out. This is one of the sweetest films that you could possibly see about parenting. Very, very timely is the movie Bethlehem. And unfortunately timely in a rather bad way, given everything that's going on in the Middle East once again. But as a sort of drama about the tensions between Israel and Palestine, this is really worth seeing. I know other movies have been made that tell this story, but this is about an Israeli Secret Service agent and a Palestinian informer, and it is very interesting, and especially given what's going on, it just forces you to look at things in a whole new light. So that is a good film to check out. And then there's also Love in the City, L'amore in città from Raro Video, which is distributed now by Kino. This is a Michelangelo Antonioni, Federico Fellini, Alberto Latuada, Carlo Lizzani, Francesco Maselli, Dino Risi, and Cesare Zavattini collaboration. And I know you're thinking, what does that mean? It's a whole bunch of individual little films all pieced together, and it is quite wonderful. And it's called Love in the City, and it's it's a kind of an omnibus thing. It's an ensemble thing. It's a whatever you want to call it, but it's a lovely, lovely film. And of course, the one that I like the most is, of course, the Antonioni one, which is Attempted Suicide. All of these made in 1953, and then put together, I guess, afterwards. But it's pretty great. So if you love Italian movies of that particular era, you will totally vibe to it.
Now, Wade, you know what's coming out via Criterion in October? Well, first of all, actually, there's 3 things.
Yes.
One is La Dolce Vita, Blu-ray finally, Criterion, knock out of the park. One of my favorite documentaries, F for Fake, the Orson Welles, that's coming out in October. Also, Wade, save your shekels, because the complete Jacques Tati.
Oh.
This is everything.
Totally.
Jour de Fête, Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, Mon Oncle, Playtime, one of my all-time favorite movies, Traffic, and Parade.
Awesome.
Come on now.
Sweet.
Get it going.
Yeah. I'm
Seriously.
all about it. I'm down. I'm totally down
October.
with it.
October cannot come fast enough.
All right. So, all right, Mark, let's burn through some of the
burn through
some classic ones. I'm going to do the Kino Classics line, because we have a whole new line from Kino, and I'm not sure how they're licensing these things, but they're sort of following the model of Olive and Twilight, who we have some other stuff from if we can get to it in time. And they're snatching some great titles that apparently they've never been on Blu-ray, and Kino is kicking them out there. And I got 3 of them right here that I want to make a recommendation of right out of the gate. One is Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, which is a totally underrated Billy Wilder film. And I got another underrated Billy Wilder film here in a second. A totally underrated Billy Wilder film with a great score by Miklos Rosa from 1970, right at the end of Billy Wilder's career. But really just a fantastic, Sherlock Holmes story. I mean, it gets maligned, but if you watch this, you're like, well, that's actually really, really good. I mean, in hindsight, it's a lot of fun. And he wrote it with Izzy Diamond, his co-writer on The Apartment, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. Nice little, not quite revisionist, but a little bit revisionist. And then we also have Billy Wilder's Witness for the Prosecution with Tyrone Power, Marlene Dietrich, and Charles Laughton, which is another fantastic film that shows you the incredible breadth of Billy Wilder's skills. That was made in 1957. And it's maybe one of the best courtroom dramas I think I've ever seen. And I don't like courtroom dramas in principle, but this is really this is just great. And it has this fantastic discussion on the film between Billy Wilder and Volker Schlondorf. In German, by the way, because Wilder, of course, is German. We often forget, oh yeah, that's why he has a German accent, because that's his native language. But pretty great. Doesn't get much better. And it was based on a play, by the way. And then Sabata with Lee Van Cleef and William Berger. Lee Van Cleef is one of those guys who really only did one character, but he did it so well. He just did it so well. He was
an Escape from New York.
He's just that dude. He's just that hard, tough, cigar-chomping, gun-toting, hard-as-nails, hard-ass dude. And he's
like a Lee Marvin type.
Yeah,
he's born to brawl.
He's just born to brawl. Whether it's a military guy or in a Western, he's just one of those guys. Anyway, this is a Western, and he basically plays a very kind of... Wyatt Earp type character, and he's just fantastic. And it's got kind of that good, the bad, and the what is it?
Star Wars.
Good and the bad and the
the good, the bad, and the Star Wars.
Good, the bad, and the friend. That's the one. It's got that kind of vibe to it. It's good stuff. That's on Blu-ray too. All right, tell us about the Mill Creek stuff.
Oh, watch how fast I do this, Wade.
Okay.
On Blu-ray's Flatliners. Flatliners was directed by Joel Schumacher back before he went totally campy, and this is kind of a movie of its time. It's from the it's kind of from the 80s, and it was actually 1990, which technically is the 80s. Got a good cast: Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, and Kevin Bacon. They play a bunch of college students or medical students who kill themselves so that they can describe what it feels like. Of course, they're not really dead. So again, it's like it's a little like The Lost Boys, not like The Lost Boys, but it's got that kind of like a little bit B-movie-ish, but kind of creepy, kind of scary feel to it. So Flatliners was popular for the time. Does it hold up? A little bit. It's kind of cute. Anaconda had its moment. This is Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube, and John Voight and Eric Stoltz. This is about an enormous anaconda. Hence the name.
I actually made mention of this.
This is pretty good.
I got to tell you, I cited this as having the worst CGI of any movie in history on the radio the other day. And I'd still stand by that. I think
but you know what?
It's horrendous.
It had its moment. It was popular for the time. It's got Jennifer Lopez looking very young, and it's kind of fun, actually.
Okay.
Donnie Brasco. This is a terrific film. Mike Newell directed this. This is Al Pacino and Johnny Depp, based on a true story. It's about Johnny Depp. He's an FBI agent posing as a jewel broker, and it's very. What I like about this film is that it is a rare opportunity to see Al Pacino play somebody who is like a low-level crime guy. He's not like Scarface or Godfather blowing people away. He's kind of this underling who's got the FBI's on him, played by Johnny Depp, and I kind of like that in Pacino because, again, like we were saying before, he doesn't really do much like quote-unquote acting anymore.
Yeah.
But Donnie Brasco is good stuff. Last Action Hero is one of the legendary.
I love this movie.
One of the legendary bombs of the '90s. This is directed by John McTiernan,
who's out of prison now,
and good for him.
Yep.
And like most legendary bombs, it was all based on the budget, not based on the quality of the film. And the film itself is not so bad. It's okay. Also, O'Brien plays this kid who loves Jack Slater movies, and suddenly, out of nowhere, like Purple Rose of Cairo, out comes Jack Slater, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, there you go.
And they have a little adventure together. again, the film is a little bit ponderous, and I wouldn't call John McTiernan a lighthearted comedy type director. And this does have to have a bit of a light touch, even though he is a last action hero. So there's a little tone problem there, but still, I think it's not as bad as people gave it credit for, which is not fair. The Legend of Billie Jean is an interesting film starring a woman who had a brief moment in the 80s, Helen Slater. And
I love Helen Slater, and I love the theme song for this. The theme for this is Invincible. Oh my gosh, it's the best song to listen to when you're on like mile 7 of a 7-mile run, and you're going uphill, and you just cannot make it. And then Invincible comes on, and the adrenaline and the endorphins just kick in. It's unbelievable.
Anyway, it's
been there. I'm just saying.
Good job. Anyway, co-stars Christian Slater and Peter Coyote. And it's Billie Jean plays this. She plays this young girl, and her sister's motor scooter is stolen, and so Billie Jean demands that it be fixed. And then there's a bunch of gunshots and a bunch of misunderstandings, and Billie Jean winds up on the run. And again, this is another movie from the '80s that if you're from the '80s or '90s and you saw it, you remember it, is it worth watching? Ultimately, it's okay.
Fantabulous.
I like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think that guy's charming. He's kind of the type of guy I would totally not hate because he's like a wrestler and who gives a crap about wrestling. But I like him. I don't like the Gridiron Gang, which is kind of a straight-to-video thing that he did a couple of years ago. Actually, it was 2006. It was like 8 years ago. Anyway, it's supposed to be an inspirational film about a bunch of teenage kids are kind of delinquents, and they're given a second chance playing football. This thing is very cliched. You can tell it's trying to be like, super inspirational with the big sweepy music and the triumphant kids. The tragedy of this film,
yes,
is that it was directed by Phil Joannou. Now,
Phil
Joannou...
What a waste of a career that was.
Phil Joannou directed one great film, the Sean Penn thing, State of Grace.
State of Grace,
State of Grace.
Yeah, the Hell's Kitchen thing.
And he also did the U2 documentary, which is terrific. And then
3 O'Clock High was his first film, right out of USC.
I think he may have been branded difficult. I don't know what the deal is.
He was just a little bit of inside stuff. He was the big cheese at USC when Matt was there and when Bryan Singer was there. He and Bryan Singer, same class basically. And isn't it interesting how things have changed? Like, he literally came out and he was on fire, and Singer's making, public access, and it's not even getting distribution. Matt made, the pallbearer and then went away for a long time. It's like everybody from that particular class at USC sort of did, they all drifted around, and Joannou was the dude, and then he's vanished, and look who's making hot movies now, everybody else.
Brian and Matt.
Yeah.
A couple more things. We have Gamera Legacy Collection. These are 11 Gamera films from 1965 to 1999.
Oh, my word.
I think these are great.
There were 11 Gamera films?
Oh, yeah. More than that. If you like the whole Gamera thing, because he does breathe fire.
I've seen a bunch of them, but I didn't realize there were that many of them.
It's awesome. If you like this stuff, go for it. Now, we only have the DVD. I don't know if this is on Blu-ray or not.
No.
If it's not on Blu-ray,
there are a lot that are on Blu-ray, but I don't know if any of these are.
Finally, we have a World War I collection. This is, I have to say, this is on DVD.
Not Blu-ray.
If it was on Blu-ray, I would say you may want to get this.
2 of them are on Blu-ray.
Well, Wings is a brilliant, beautiful, wonderful, excellent,
and that's on
Blu-ray. It's in this collection. Sergeant York.
Not on Blu-ray. Should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gary Cooper, who's never my favorite, won an Oscar for this part. Mm-hmm. The Big Parade
is on Blu-ray. Just came out.
Is on Blu-ray. King Vidor, and that's a silent film, 1925. And also my least favorite of the bunch is the Dawn Patrol.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad, but it's like whatever.
It's all right.
So there you go. So it's called the World War I collection, and again, Wings, classic, first Best Picture winner. Gary Cooper wins an Oscar for Sergeant York. Big Parade, great silent film. Dawn Patrol, that's the throw-in. If this thing was on Blu-ray, I'd say get it. Otherwise, go ahead and actually, you should already own Wings because it's so good. The other 2, York and Parade, you can rent.
Yeah. All right, so we've got a bunch of new Twilight Time movies as well, which I'm going to burn through because we are short on time, so we're going to wrap this show out with Twilight Time. And some of these are good, some of these are not so good. Of course, all of them come from with amazing isolated score tracks on them, which is the whole point. You can get these exclusively at ScreenArchives.com, and that's the only place you can get them. So here, let's start off. John Wayne in Brannigan is otherwise known as John Wayne is Brannigan. This is a 1975 film when Wayne is on his way out, directed by Douglas Hickox. One of the lesser interesting, not so hot Wayne efforts. He just, he's still trying to be a tough dude, even though he's old. A little bit like how Harrison Ford was really pushing it at a certain point. But you know what? I guess as a film of the era, and if you're a Wayne fan, you'll vibe to it. Radio Days, all of these fantastic Blu-rays, really well done. Twilight Time does a beautiful job with all their Blu-rays, and Radio Days is one of my favorite Woody Allen films of all time. I think it's just wonderful. It's less a sort of overt comedy or drama and more of a snapshot, a really nostalgic snapshot of a particular place and time. And it's wonderful. I think it's just absolutely delightful. This is from 1987, right at the tail end of that Woody 80s period, when it included things like Zelig and Broadway Danny Rose and everything. And this is, Purple Rose of Cairo. This is kind of the last film of that phase, of that period. After this, he kind of went in a different direction. It's sort of like he got the whole nostalgic thing out of his system, and you kind of feel it, gently being flushed in Radio Days. And what's great is it gives you a wonderful insight into how radio shows were done in particular. I mean, he recreates everything in the era just meticulously and beautifully. It's a great cast, and Julie Kavner's in it. Marge Simpson.
That's right.
Odd little movie, Save Your Legs. If you're, an Australian cricket fan, I guess this is you'll really dig this. I know a little bit about cricket. This is a relatively new movie from 2012, and Twilight Time picks up occasionally some really peculiar little things. And I mean, it's funny. If you don't know anything about cricket, you'll miss a lot of this stuff. But it's otherwise a kind of it's like it's an Australian comedy. What do you want? Moving along real quickly, Man from Laramie. Not a great Western by any means, but it's Jimmy Stewart doing what he does when he does Westerns. Like John Wayne, it's got a certain vibe. 1950s, it's kind of a typical Anthony Mann Western. Anthony Mann was better at noirs, but his Westerns have, a big widescreen flair to them, and they, this is CinemaScope and Technicolor and big and wide and sprawling, and it's it's of the era, and it's very much of a piece. Not brilliant, not bad, but again, Jimmy Stewart in a Western. There you go. A Violent Saturday, I actually am a big fan of. It's a Richard Fleischer film, a kind of an underrated noir, to be honest. This has an interesting audio commentary on it with a couple of film historians, one of whom is Nick Redman. It really kind of put it in its place quite nicely. What I like about this is it's much closer to what noir films have become more recently. It's not typical of a noir film from 1955, so in that much I appreciate it. It's got much more of a kind of a rural, bucolic quality to it, and some really great supporting performances here from Richard Egan and Ernest Borgnine. Really a lot of fun. Oh, by the way, the movie that I saw today, Calvary, which I'll be talking about on Film Week on August 1st.
Yes.
Emmett Walsh is in it.
Really?
He's still alive.
He is?
I know, isn't that amazing?
I thought he died.
He's only 79.
Huh.
Did he die?
Yeah, didn't he? Who was the?
You're thinking of that other Walsh dude.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Walsh in Few Good Men.
Yeah, no.
I was thinking J.T. Walsh.
J.T. Walsh. This is Emmett Walsh. Emmett Walsh, the fat dude?
Yeah.
From like Raising Arizona and a million other movies? Yeah. I was like, I thought he died.
Good for him.
He doesn't look good. I mean, he looks like hell. He's one of those actors. All right, finishing up. Born Yesterday, the original Born Yesterday. A wonderful, wonderful screwball comedy. Fantastic. 1950, George Cukor nails the Garson Kanin play in a way that makes you forget about the play. The movie is it. The movie is what everyone remembers. They don't remember the play anymore because Judy Holliday is so fantastic in this movie, and Broderick Crawford is so wonderful. You get the original trailers and the isolated score. That's all you need. Judy Holliday is magnificent. Born Yesterday, don't miss it. Forget about the remake that they had with John Goodman and Melanie Griffith. It was horrible. Another little interesting pickup, Resurrected. This is another relatively recent film that within the past 15 years or so, I guess, that Twilight Time picked up that is not necessarily one licensed from a studio. And it is kind of it shows you Paul Greengrass's evolution as a director. This is Paul Greengrass just on the cusp, right? It's kind of a story that's tied to the Falklands War. David Thewlis, pretty good performance in a pre-naked performance. I guess it would have been about 20 years ago maybe that this was, anyway. 1989. So even older than I thought, 89. Anyway, check it out only if you're a Paul Greengrass fan. And then the last three, The Mechanic, the original Charles Bronson film, still legendary. It dates somewhat poorly, but Bronson is so cool, and Michael Winner is kind of so on his game here, which he often isn't, that it's worth watching. By the way, worth noting as well, and this also has a commentary with Nick Redman on it, which is very good. An early Chardoff-Winkler film. I'd forgotten that. Did you remember that?
The producers of Rocky.
Yeah, and The Right Stuff. I'd forgotten that they even did The Mechanic. I'd forgotten they were working back then. And then there's also The Train, which still holds up. The Train is a fantastic film. If you've never seen The Train, John Frankenheimer at his very, very best. This is a 1964 thriller with Burt Lancaster that absolutely kills it. One of the things about Frankenheimer, he knew how to turn the tension. He knew how to turn the screws on suspense, and he does such a fantastic job of it here. Really one of the best of its era. Still holds up. Just fantastic film. Really, really good. Beautiful Blu-ray. And then lastly, Heaven Knows Mr. Allison. A film which really divides people. John Huston directed this, and it's not, every John Huston film seems to have its detractors and its admirers for a lot of different reasons. This has a fantastic performance from Deborah Kerr in it. Deborah Kerr is just wonderful. Robert Mitchum, very much in his usual mode. He does the Robert Mitchum thing that he did at that time. Deborah Kerr as a nun. Is just absolutely wonderful. 1957, really a fantastic South Pacific World War II story set on an island that just, it's so allegorical and so many really fascinating comments on humanity in general and conflict of war. It transcends the entire theater in which the film takes place. So really, really good. I think this is one of John Huston's very, very best from this period. Again, not a film that a lot of people like. As to whether or not it's an anti-war film or pro-war film, people get kind of caught up in that. So anyway, those are the new Twilight Time releases. They are 3,000 copies each. There are only 3,000 copies out there. So if you want them, go get them. Don't delay, screenarchive.com. And Mark, with that, I think we're done.
I'm done.
All right. See you next week.